Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome back, fans, to another episode of The Spread. I'm your host, Jim Sella, in studio with J Dash and Big Easy. Going to talk some Bucko baseball. I've been missing out on these Pirate segments pretty much all year long. I got to come in and make sure you guys aren't being too nice. The Pirates deserve less.
Okay, man, whatever. Go ahead.
All right, so we're going to talk about Andrew McCutchen. And for lack of better phrasing of the question, what is wrong with McCutchen? Because I know you're going to sit there and say there's nothing wrong with him, but something's wrong, man. Because the dude hit 236 in the month of September and October.
Well, first of all, don't put words in my mouth. There's obviously something wrong with him, man. He hasn't. What's he hitting this year? 243. And the biggest thing to me is the on-base percentage. That is low right now. And the one good thing about Kutch is the high on-base percentage.
So how many at-bats does he have so far this year?
Coming into today, he had 362 at-bats. He's hitting 243. He has just that 314 on-base percentage.
All right, so then in September and October of last year combined, he had 110 at-bats. So then he's somewhere in the high 400s, 500s, low 500s.
Well, you go back and look at those months, man. The last month of the season, I know he started out all right, but he had a bad last 15 days or something. But the month before that, man, he had a 400 on-base percentage. His average was a little bit low. He was still scoring runs and everything. But if his average was up at 300, he'd have had a 600 on-base percentage that month. So really, I don't look at August as that bad of a month for him. Just really the last 15 days of last season, really, he went on a bad streak.
It's just becoming more of, a trend, I guess, than an exception now.
Well, dude,
it's starting to get
this
up.
season it's totally different. Listen to this, man. In April, 339 on base percentage. May, 339 on base percentage. June, 255. So far in July, a 308 on base percentage. So he's just not getting on base. And I said this earlier in the season, man. He's swinging at pitches that he usually doesn't swing at. You see, he already has 100 strikeouts this season compared to just 35 walks.
Yeah, he's on pace for
over the past
high.
couple seasons, man. I mean, he was just over 100 by the end of the season. He's going to have a ton of strikeouts this season.
His strikeout rate is higher than his batting average or something. I think I heard somebody say on the radio. I'm not sure if that's absolutely true or not. I think it was Bob McLaughlin said it today.
But here's the thing. It's just a bad season. It happens.
Oh, yeah.
And I go back I was just telling Easy about it probably 10 minutes before you came into the room. I go back to the Florida Marlins of 1997, the team that won the World Series. Gary Sheffield was my favorite player, so I followed him every single season. That was his worst season by far. He hit 250. I don't even think he hit 20 home runs that season. That was one of the seasons he didn't get hurt as well. So he had a full season. He was healthy, and he just wasn't playing good that year. But they never benched him or anything. They never moved him down the lineup. Although I wouldn't be mad if you said, let's move McCutchen down the lineup some. I have no problem with that. But you just got to play it out with him. It's not like he's completely horrible. He's just bad for what McCutchen usually is.
Well, his WAR is actually a minus for the first time in his career, I believe.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not saying he's having a good season or anything, but look, 14 home runs. The problem is when he has a guy on base, he's not driving him in. We were watching the game a couple minutes ago. He had the bases loaded, and he just popped out foul to first base. Yeah. Usually, he's putting that ball in the gap.
0 for 8 in that 18-inning game, and then he was, 0 for 5 or something, or 0 for 4 the last night against the Brewers.
The one good thing, though, is his power is still there, which is nice, and that's what you're not going to take him out of the lineup. I heard on 93.7 The Fan today that they were talking about if in a one-game playoff, what's your lineup, and they had Joyce starting over McCutchen. That's ridiculous.
In a one-game playoff, yeah, that's ridiculous.
They didn't really say one-game playoff.
Well, no, they
just
didn't.
said if you had one game.
Well, that's the same thing, though.
Well, no, but
if you had one game
at the end of the season, I mean,
okay,
they said
if you had one game,
they said like tonight, who would your Pirate lineup be tonight?
Yeah, but if it was one game,
and you had everyone,
tonight's lineup means nothing. So what one game is it?
Well, yeah,
you had to
talking
win.
about one tonight, like one regular season game randomly. Yeah, like right now, I might let Kutch sit for a game where you
I
have
mean,
a day
give
off
him,
the next day.
Give him a break. He
Yeah.
gets a break every month. He gets a couple days off. I
Well, I'm
think
saying
so
try
you
to.
think they were? I don't know. I don't.
That's
think
not
they
what
were
they're
talking about. Oh, you thought it was a one-game scenario again?
Well, they're
Koch,
saying
I
if
don't
you
know
have
he's-
one game and you want to win it, who are you playing? That's why they put Josh Bell in at first base, obviously.
right.
They believe that his 2 at-bats, he's ready to be the starter in a playoff game.
Hey, people think Sammy Coates is a superstar because he had 2 catches in a playoff game.
Oh, I don't think he's a superstar, but I said the same thing about Josh Bell as I said about Sammy Coates. You see their upside. That's the whole point. But they have a lot to go before you could trust them. I'm not putting Josh Bell in a one-game playoff if tomorrow's the playoff game because he only had, 3 plate appearances?
No, but I'd be playing him a little bit more now and not.
Oh, I have
moving him
no
up and
problem
down.
with that either.
Because I'm not saying Jaso's playing bad. His defense is good. His offense is probably the worst he's had in the last 3 years or 2 years.
Oh, no, I like what Jaso's doing offensively. I know he's having a bad month, but everybody, that's what people do. He's having his worst year after he has a bad month.
I'm not hating
what
on
I
him
mean?
or anything. I'm just saying.
That's the thing, man.
Bell's
People go
upside.
on good and bad streaks. Now, we're not talking about Kutch good and bad streak here.
No,
we're
he's
talking
just
about Kutch
bad.
just playing.
Yeah, it's not a
bad
streak
for
anymore.
Kutch, you know what I mean? No, Jaso, I mean, he was hitting well for the first couple months of the season. When he's hitting bad, you don't say, okay, he sucks. You let him work through it. That's how baseball goes.
So would you sit McCutchen in just a regular, everyday, regular season game, like tomorrow? If there's a game. would you
Not
just
unless
let
it's
him-
just for rest. No, I'm playing Kutch every day. He's
Well,
still.
you're not necessarily benching him because his stats are bad. You're giving him rest because maybe he's tired or maybe you know what I mean. Maybe there is
but he
something
gets
with the
those
thumb or
days,
whatever.
and I have no problem
But I'm
with
saying
that.
give him an extra one, man. Let him get a little extra rest. See if those couple extra days off or whatever can get him back to where he needs to be. Because if he even
they
gets back
just
to
had-
hitting 270, 280,
Look,
that
the
makes
All-Star.
up for a lot of the holes you have in the rotation. If McCutchen starts hitting back at his normal average and his normal
Okay, but let me
RBIs.
ask you this: how much more rest do you need for a guy that usually goes to the All-Star game, gets this year off, gets to sit at home for 4 days? That just happened a week and a half ago.
Yeah,
how much
I
more rest
understand.
do you need? I mean, there's no way it has anything to do with rest. His plate vision isn't there this season, and it's carried over to the field, and it's not supposed to. I'm not saying he's so terrible on the field either. We see him make these stupid errors, and it's terrible for Kutch. But most teams have guys that just do this on not a regular basis. They're not making errors every night, but that's something that happens throughout the season for a lot of players.
trade him. Right.
No. Not,
Bench him.
not while you're in a playoff race. I
Bench
don't
him.
trade him. I don't bench him. I keep playing him. Look, man.
How do you not on the radio? How they're hating? That's true hate.
Okay, but
Not
look,
even have McCutchen in the lineup.
it is.
Then
But
the other dude
let's
had
take
him batting eighth.
let's take a look at something here.
Kutch batting
Over his
eighth.
last 8 games, he had hits in 6 of those games. So he already has a hit tonight. I know we said he popped up in a big situation, but he already had a hit tonight. So he is hitting a little bit better. But yeah, he had that 0 for 8 game, which really hurt and hurt his average as well. And 0 for 8 game's terrible. And he went 0 for 5 yesterday. That's 2 games
Basically,
there.
like going over for 3 games.
What, 0 for 8?
0 for 8 and 0 for 5.
Oh yeah, that's pretty
many
much what it
at-bats.
is. I mean, he had a 1 for 3 in between those 2 games, but outside of that, the previous 6 games, he had a 3-hit game and he had 2 2-hit games, a 1 for 3 and a 1 for 4 as well. So, I mean, he's still getting on base. He's showing some power. He's just not driving in the runs. But look, he scored 52 runs too, so it's not like he's not scoring runs right now.
So you don't think it's injury? You think it's just one of those things, poor play?
I don't see it as an injury. I know they said his thumb earlier this season was hurting him, but that doesn't make you swing at sliders that fall 2 feet out of the zone.
Yeah, just not getting it done. Dude's garbage this year.
So
I wouldn't go as
obviously-
far to say garbage, though, because there's a lot of players. You could still do a lot worse at this time of the year.
Would you move him to left field and let Marte take over in center?
Yeah, and I'd put him in right field, and I'd let Polanco take over in left field and Marte take over in center.
You think Polanco can handle it in left field at PNC Park? That's a tough position to play. It's a lot of
Absolutely.
field.
You look last season, man, he was one of the top right fielders in baseball. He actually had a great defensive WAR last season, was one of the more better fielding outfielders in all of baseball, actually. I know he made a couple mistakes this season, but like I said, a lot of baseball players do that, and it's magnified in Pittsburgh because they're supposed to have this perfect outfield or whatever. But Polanco, man, he's a good outfielder, and he has a gun, which is good for left field. Think about it. You have Marte in left field now. We love that because when there's a base hit to left field, he can gun someone at home. You put Kutch out there, well, you're taking away that aspect of the game. Where you put Polanco out there, you still have it.
Yep.
So you're not worried about Kutch's ego if you move him to right field? I know you
at
don't
this
buy
point
into
in
it
the
as much,
season,
but there's a lot of talk in the Pittsburgh media that he just isn't as easy to get along with in the clubhouse for the front office. Not the players. The players all, get along. But sometimes, behind closed doors, he's not as happy with things as it seems.
Well, it does suck when a guy's not playing well that is a 300 type hitter and MVP type player, and while he's struggling, you make a move on him like that. Now, putting him down in the lineup makes more sense to me. See what happens with that. Leave him in center field for now. I wouldn't put him down in the lineup. Move him out of center field. You know what I mean? And just pile on him right now. I'd leave him in center for the moment, although I would like Marte in center in the long run, obviously, but I would move Kutch down the lineup.
As much as it hurts, and even if it did make him mad, I just got to move him at this point because you got to do what's best for the team. The Pirates think that they have a shot at that wild card game. They're only 3.5 games out. The hard part is they're behind 3 teams, so they're going to have to leapfrog 3 teams. That just makes it a little bit harder. And if that's going to give you the best lineup, moving him to right field and moving the other guys. Now, the one thing I would say against it is now you have all 3 guys playing in a different position than they were when they started.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be good enough players to be able to do that. The outfield is the outfield
Marte
in most
Polanco,
cases.
Right now, Polanco's in left field today, so they play those positions as well.
It just sometimes isn't the best thing to uproot that many people all at once, but I don't know. If it's going to make the team better, I'm all for it. I don't really care if it makes Kutch mad. Evgeny Malkin was playing on the third line, basically, when he first came back. Sometimes a superstar just needs to do what's best for the team. Easy. Would you trade him at the deadline or just maybe see what you can get in the offseason?
Yeah, there's no reason to trade him. That's ludicrous.
When is the deadline?
That's
8 days,
10,
9 days, something like that?
Yeah,
I
I think it's 10, yeah.
No reason to move
Yeah,
him.
that would be ridiculous if we
Yes.
woke up in a couple days and they said Kutch was traded. That would be stupid as hell.
It'd be ludicrous.
What about Josh Bell taking some plays in the outfield? Anybody reading into that? I'm hearing he's struggling at first base.
Well, no. He's getting better at first base. He's still not where they want him, obviously. He still struggles there a little bit, but he's definitely getting better. The reason he was playing outfield, for sure, was because Polanco was injured and they thought maybe he was going to go on a DL. Now I expect he probably already did, to tell you the truth. He's probably going to go back to first base. His future is at first base with the Pittsburgh Pirates for sure.
So with the deadline coming up, we're not going to deal Kutch. Any chance that the Pirates steal one of the prospects, Meadows or Bell?
Not Meadows or Bell. I highly, highly doubt it. Especially, I know everyone's talking Chris Archer. Well, right now, Chris Archer has a ERA 30 points higher than John Neese. Everybody hates Garrett Cole because he has a 3.11 ERA. Well, Chris Archer never had a 3.11 ERA.
Damn. Chris who? We don't want him. We don't need him.
Chris
What are you
Archer's
doing
a good
to you,
pitcher.
man? Good Lord.
Dude's
Chris
garbage.
Archer's a good pitcher. No, that's not what I'm saying. Look, he had
You just said it.
like Jim said yesterday, over the past 3 seasons, he had an ERA at like 3.30 something, which is great, man. And I'd take it all day long. I was just pointing out Garrett Cole isn't as bad as everyone thinks he is. And right now, Chris Archer hasn't pitched much better than John Neese in terms of runs allowed. He is a better pitcher than John Neese, no doubt about it.
So any moves the Pirates are going to make at the deadline, or do they just stand pat and hope that their young guys can keep them moving forward?
Yeah, we said this in a segment a couple times, man, is the answers are within their system this year. They got a ton of young pitching, and that's what they were looking for this year. That's why they went after John Neese, is because they had control for just 1 year on him. They didn't want a guy that they had control for 3 years, because then they're kind of stuck with extra pitchers, and they'd have to almost deal a guy like Tyler Glasnow or Jameson Taillon right now.
Speaking of Jamison Tyone, you think if McCutchen took a 105-mile-an-hour ball off the back of the head, he's tough enough to stay in the game like Tyone? That was beast, man. He still pitched well, too.
Well, it
He
depends
pitched
on
better. I think it, made him pitch better, I swear.
It depends on how it hits you, too, man. You seen, when the ball hit him, the ball flew into the outfield, you know what I mean? If that ball would have hit and dropped, it would have hit him dead on, man, and his skull would have probably been broken.
Any criticism to the Pirates staff for letting him stay in?
Nah, not really, man. I'd have let him pitch too. And if I played sports my whole life, dude. I didn't even let people know I had a concussion. Obviously, you see it coming. But I'm sick of all this taking it easy with all these athletes these days, man. They're athletes. They get paid a ton of money. Do your thing. If he was hurt, take him out. But he wasn't hurt.
Are you surprised they left him in? Just with, all the media attention and everything that concussions get. And
Clint
I don't
Hurdle
give a crap about that stupid movie, so I'm not even talking about it.
Clint
I
Hurdle
hate
probably looked at his bullpen and was like, holy shit, they just pitched 8 innings yesterday, so he needs to pitch a couple more at least.
Maybe Hurdle will go out there and pitch. I heard Hurdle in an interview say he got hit in the head when he was batting one time when he was younger and his family was at the game or whatever, and he got knocked out cold and they had to use smelling salts to bring him back to consciousness. That'd be pretty funny to see Hurdle go down. Do you think he still chews his gum while he's unconscious? I bet you his jaw still goes. It's like muscle memory. Anything else about McCutchen?
No, not really, man.
Trade him, cut him, DFA him? No?
Just keep playing him.
And
That's
then
all you could do.
DFA lock?
It's really... No. See, that's...
I had to slide it in
Did you
there
hear
real quick.
93.7 today? They were totally against Locke, acting like they hated him all season. They don't know why they came into the season with him. Blah, 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 all this crap. Meanwhile, a week ago, these same freaking people were saying he was their best pitcher.
Yeah, that's it. At least I'm consistent with my hate. Fans, anybody you want to hate on, you want to comment on McCutchen, hit us up on Twitter at bet_thespread. Hit me up on Twitter at betjimthewin. Check out the Facebook page at facebook.com/betthespread. Keep coming back to the YouTube page. Keep clicking subscribe. Buccos 3.5 back. Can they make the playoffs?
Consistent hate.